how did you go transition from this incredible career as a model to this passion of code with Klossing?
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. I really do have a very high appreciation for good engineering around stylish footwear. So I think that's why I was very excited about meeting you and learning about your brands. And for me, I love fashion. I feel like I fell into fashion. I grew up in the Midwest with my 3 sisters, and I thought I would be a doctor like my dad. And so from an early age, I always really loved math and science. And I was very, came very easily to me, and I kind of always envisioned a career in those fields.
Yeah.
And I just have been a curious person my whole life. I love learning about new things, whether it's like I'm always asking questions. I mean, I think that's from the minute we met. I was just like, okay, Sarah, how does it work? How did you? I'm always asking questions. So I've had a bit of a non-linear path. At 15, I started modeling and had pretty much an immediately had a full-time job. I walked in New York Fashion Week in 2007, and it put me on the map pretty quickly. And so I had a full-time career while I was in high school. And for those 4 years, I kind of lived this double life of being a student and also traveling the world and seeing the world and experiencing things I never imagined I would have the opportunity to. And when I graduated school, I moved to New York and just fully leaned into my career, but I've always had such kind of varied interests, and I love part of the reason why I'm so grateful for my career is this kind of access to the world and to amazing, interesting people. Yeah. And I take advantage of that. I ask questions all the time, and I kind of have organically gotten involved in investing through meeting amazing people and wanting to support what they do.
Particularly female founders.
Particularly female founders, because I really understand and appreciate the problem that you're solving. Yeah. And so, it's very personal. And then Code with Klossy kind of developed, again, out of a curiosity and a passion for myself, just developing skills that could help me better understand technology and how the back end of it works, and being able to take an idea and build it out. And that came from having access to a skill set, specifically coding. And when I started taking classes, I realized there's
How did you even find time to take classes? I mean, I read something somewhere that you're on an airplane like what percentage of the year.
I know.
You just were like, okay, I'm going to carve out time to take coding classes?
Well, in fashion, I feel like, I'm sure your factories in August are slow down. In fashion, that's kind of like a quiet month before September. So for me as a model, I had some time off, and so I took a boot camp during that month, and I had an amazing teacher, and I realized, I kind of looked around and I realized that it was a school teaching engineering, teaching how to code, but it was mainly men there. Mm-hmm. And I really realized, like, it was kind of the first time I paid attention to that, and realized the real opportunity of what you can do with these skills, and the disconnect that there aren't enough women learning them. Yep. And how I had a voice through social media to so many young women, kind of at a very different end of the pipeline, teenage girls, and I was like, how can I point them in this direction? Yeah. So that was really how Code with Klossy was started. It was just my passion for learning this for myself, and then wanting to share access to that. And it's a really creative skill that can, you can build. I mean, you can build pretty much anything you can imagine and solve big problems.
But it's amazing, and I feel like it's, it really does open up so many careers for women. And when we talk about sort of like closing the gap in equality and those types of things, I think it is a sector that women haven't been going into, and if we're going to continue to bridge that, we have to get more people talking about it. It's the opposite of what I do. It's funny because you sort of had this background and skill, and you went into something that you probably thought you wouldn't have to start. You said you wanted to be a doctor. For me, I always knew I wanted to be a shoe designer. It was like,
from what age?
From like 5, when I had a pair of patent leather tap shoes. The bomb. Yeah, I tried to wear them to school. My mom was like, let's not do that in our colonial farmhouse and stuff up the floors. But But then, so my strategy was like, I'm gonna go straight into this, like what I'm good at, and ignore math and science because I'm terrible at it. Yeah. And you have, built this career, and obviously you have grown to love fashion.
Yeah. It's really funny because I actually, when I think back on it, so my mom and dad are total opposites. My dad is a doctor, like very black and white, scientific thinking, and my mom is an artist, and she's really creative, and like everything. Like her creativity just exudes in every way. Like whether it's a birthday party, it's like the most incredible experience of a birthday party for a 5-year-old. Like she just can't turn it off, and it's just the way she thinks. And they're so different. And I always, as a young girl, I kind of identified, I'm a math and science person. I really am not a creative person. I'm not fashionable, I'm not artistic, I can't draw, I don't know, I just really self-selected out
Karlie
of that.
Kloss say she's not
I'm gonna tell you, I totally identified as, I self-selected out of that.
Yeah.
And I, ironically...
It's so impressive because I think so many of us, we look at the things that we, feel we don't do well and we run away from them.
Yeah.
Which is definitely what I do.
Yeah.
Although owning a business, I've had to not do that.
I can
imagine.
I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way. Yeah. And I think that that's kind of where I've developed this confidence to just try new things and not be afraid, because what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. I think that that you're better for it. And I think that's kind of my perspective of being a little bit less fearful to take that first step and try something new. I think part of also why I was so interested in learning to code was because it was perceived as difficult. And I was like, you know what? This thing that guys think is only for highly intellectual, it's actually, anyone can learn it. And it is very creative, which I find ironic that it's perceived as so math and science, because it's a skill set that can actually be, and actually I think arguably we need more women in particular who have different kind of experiences and ways of thinking and ways of problem solving, because two people never solve the same problem the same way. And I think that that is important when you're building code that powers algorithms that touch everyone. And it needs to have diversity of thought at the table by the people who are building them.
Yeah.
So and I think what you do is this amazing intersection of the two, of engineering, of kind of taking something and not compromising style.
Yeah.
And then also to add on top of that, part of why I'm so passionate about what you do is because you make it's the highest quality, but at an accessible price point. And to me, I'm a frugal girl from the Midwest, so I appreciate quality and a fair price.
Yeah, I think I just, for me, so I think a lot of you know the story of Sarah Flint, but we started at a higher price point and ended up switching to direct to consumer so that we could drop those prices in half. And part of the reason that I did that was that I was looking around at my own friends and I was like, they're not going to buy these shoes at this price. I'm going to offer them wholesale anyway, and they're going to, at that price, it's still a big investment for them, but it's not so precious that it's like you're just dying if you nick a heel or do,
you actually wear them.
You actually wear them.
These are like my uniform. Actually, some people who work with me are like, Karlie, you have to stop wearing those boots. You literally have outworn them. But it's really, I want to wear them. I feel so comfortable in them, and I feel like, for me, I feel lucky that I have access to lots of beautiful things, but what I always reach for are things that are comfortable first.
And that was exactly it. I was like, why is it that the shoes you're spending $800 on are the ones that sit at the back of your closet?
Yes.
And then the comfy, the less expensive ones, maybe they're slightly more comfortable, but they're not lasting quality. Yeah. And they're probably not the most as attractive as your really beautiful, expensive ones. Yeah. So, why can't we bridge the two?
Yeah. And where did you kind of identify this opportunity to reach women in a way, primarily running your business on e-com? It's amazing to have, personally, selfishly, to come in here. This is so convenient for me to shop in this pop-up and try things on, but you've built a business that is primarily
e-commerce.
Online.
Yeah, so I think that partly the move to e-com was that it was a low lift way for us to cut the prices and be able to reach a lot of people very quickly. But I had built the business to start with through trunk shows and specialty stores and things like that, because it is a very tangible, you can feel the padding and the arch support and those types of things. So, I think that e-commerce is the way that our generation shops, right? It's the way that they discover brands. And so part of having this space and the pop-up, and we're planning to do many more pop-ups in the future and eventually retail if it makes sense, allows people to sort of discover online and then try on in person. So I think, e-commerce is always going to be the biggest part of our business, but I think that these kind of in-person moments and experiences, and even being able to sort of sit here like this and have conversations with everyone has been so important.
It's so funny. I'm thinking about just the discovery aspect.
Yeah.
Because it really is so true. Coming from a house of sisters, I always was introduced to new brands or new things because of them, and I think that's the most powerful way for me, ironically I work in fashion, but I don't spend a lot of time thinking about fashion, so I really trust when a friend says, this is an amazing shoe, this is an amazing product, and I feel like that's been a huge part of your success, is that this kind of word of mouth, wow, this is different, there's so much out there, but this is different.
It definitely is, and I think if you look at digital marketing, or you can see an Instagram ad 8 times, but it's not going to tell you the same as if your sister tells you that she bought this pair of shoes that are so incredibly comfortable and they're also beautiful. And we have a number of our brand ambassadors in the room today, and these are women who have been customers of ours and fans of the brand, who have just really supported us and spread the word through their network, which is just so important, especially as you sort of see, and I'm sure a lot of the companies that you are working with, digital marketing is very expensive, and it gets more and more so. It's hard to get sort of as authentic a message out there.
No, and it's funny, I'm thinking about, part of what I need to accomplish today is to do a little shopping, because recently I was telling Sarah, I was with family members, and they were so obsessed with the shoes, I literally gave them to them, and I was really regretting it, because I was like, oh, I need to restock my supply. My favorite shoes I gave away.
That's not a problem. Number one, I want to make sure everyone understands what Code with Klossy is and how it works, because we're doing 10% of sales today to Code with Klossy.
Well, okay, there we go. I didn't even know that. I'm so glad. Thank you guys for your support. And Code with Klossy, for anyone who doesn't know, is an organization that works to create opportunities for young women to have access to these skills that I was talking about. So when I first started, it was a 20-person scholarship that we underwrote to teach girls how to code, and now this past summer we had 1,000 girls in our camps, and we fully run them. Many members of my team are here today, so it could not and would not happen without them and the passion that they bring to building what we're building. And it's been so exciting to grow this over the past few years. We now build our own curriculum, train teachers through a partnership with Teach for America. We run the camps full stop. So we kind of find creative, cool spaces to host the camps for 2 weeks, and then we create really dynamic, creative ways for them to learn. And so they walk away with pretty robust skills, about a semester's worth of learning in these 2 weeks. And it's been really successful, and we're really proud of it. And the young women are brilliant. They are the next generation of women like you, leaders in whatever they choose to go into. And it's
completely free, right?
It's completely free. So we eliminate all barriers for them, whether it's a travel stipend for them to get there, the entire experience is free. And we also are in a kind of point right now where we're continuing to think, how can we build out more ways to support them along the pipeline, whether it's access to scholarships, access to grants to start their ideas, because they're extremely entrepreneurial. I mean, they're very creative. It's a very diverse kind of mix of girls that come to us, and most of them.
How are they finding out about it?
Word of mouth, a lot. Parents, teachers. We are actually, so tomorrow is the start of Computer Science Education Week. It's a very exciting week of the year for us. And we're announcing the cities that we'll be going into. So we really, also because this is a free experience, we really work hard to kind of reach the young women who need it most and deserve it most. And you know, every young woman that applies, it's like really hard to say no, because they're all so deserving and could do great things with these skills. But we really actively try and you know, create opportunities for young women who couldn't experience this otherwise.